Azure Cloud Services, 5 Quick Wins for Startups and SMBs. Welcome back. Today's topic is Azure Cloud Services, 5 Quick Wins for Startups and SMBs. We'll cover what you actually need to know about Microsoft Azure Cloud Services for startups and SMBs. Now, moving on to quick win number 1, how Microsoft Azure Cloud Services help SMBs cut server costs. The short answer, most SMBs reduce server-related costs by 40% to 70% when they shift from on-premise hardware to Azure virtual machines, primarily because they stop paying for idle capacity. A physical server doesn't know when you're not using it. You pay for power, cooling, hardware maintenance, and physical space whether the machine is processing thousands of requests or sitting at 2% CPU at 3 a.m. Azure charges by usage, and that changes the economics completely. The specific numbers, EB2S instance on pay-as-you-go pricing runs around $35 per month. Commit to a 3-year reserved instance and that drops to roughly $17 per month. 3 comparable Azure VMs on reserved pricing cost less than $60 per month in compute alone. Now, quick win number 2, reduce database licensing costs with Azure SQL. SQL Server licensing is where small businesses routinely overpay. The standard edition costs around $3,700 per core license. A 2-core database server for a small application runs $7,400 in software licenses alone, before hardware costs enter the picture. Azure SQL Managed Instance starts at roughly 18 cents per vCore hour on the general purpose tier. A 4 vCore instance running continuously costs around $525 per month, or $6,300 per year. You get full SQL Server compatibility, automatic backups, built-in high availability, and no licensing headache. The migration path is straightforward. Azure Database Migration Service handles schema assessment, schema migration, and data migration in separate phases. You can run the migration while your existing database stays live, so there's no scheduled downtime for most standard SQL Server workloads. Microsoft's Azure Database Migration Service documentation covers the specific steps for each migration scenario, including the schema comparison tools and data validation checks. Now, let's talk about quick win number 3, automate SMB workflows with Microsoft Power Platform. Power Automate connects your business applications and handles repetitive tasks that don't require human judgment, routing approvals, syncing data between systems, sending notifications when conditions are met, generating documents from templates. These tasks consume time every day and rarely need a human decision. Licensing is simpler than Microsoft's documentation makes it look. The per-user plan at $15 per month covers connections to Microsoft 365, SharePoint, Teams, and hundreds of standard connectors. The premium plan at $40/user/month adds connections to external databases, custom APIs, and enterprise applications like SAP and Salesforce. For a 5-person operations team, expect to pay $75 to $200 per month. The ROI math, if each person spends 4 hours per week on manual tasks that Power Automate can handle, that's 20 hours per week across a 5-person team. At a $30 per hour fully loaded cost, that's $2,400 per month in labor. Automating half of those tasks generates $1,200 per month in savings against a $200 per month platform cost. Now, moving on to quick win number 4, migrate legacy apps to Azure Cloud without downtime. Zero downtime migrations are achievable for most SMB application stacks. The process requires planning, but it follows a clear, repeatable sequence that Microsoft's toolchain supports end-to-end. Here's how it works for a standard web application with a SQL database. For most small business applications, the total migration timeline is 3 to 6 weeks. Complex applications with multiple integrations, older authentication systems, or custom middleware take longer, but the sequence above remains the same. Let's talk about moving on to quick win number 5, deploy Azure AI services to eliminate repetitive work. Azure AI services includes pre-built models you can call via REST API without training anything yourself. 3 of these services consistently deliver fast ROI for SMBs and startups running Microsoft Azure Cloud Services, Document Intelligence, Azure Cognitive Search, and Azure OpenAI Service. Document Intelligence reads invoices, contracts, forms, and receipts and returns structured data. Pricing is $1.50 per 1,000 pages at the standard tier. An SMB processing 500 invoices per month pays 75 cents for the AI extraction. Compare that to 20 minutes of manual data entry per invoice at $25 per hour. 500 invoices costs $4,167 in labor versus 75 cents in API costs. Azure Cognitive Search indexes your business documents, contracts, emails, and policies and makes them searchable by natural language query. The basic tier starts at $73 per month and handles up to 15 indexes. For teams that spend 30 minutes per day hunting through shared drives, this pays for itself in the first week. Next up, Microsoft Azure Cloud Services pricing for startups and SMBs. The most common question we hear is, what will this actually cost? Here's a realistic monthly cost model for a 10 to 20 person SMB after completing all 5 quick wins. These estimates assume reserved pricing where available and right-sized VMs after the initial migration period. Going in on pay-as-you-go pricing will increase the Azure column by 30 to 50% until you've analyzed actual usage patterns and applied reservations. The Microsoft Azure Pricing Calculator lets you model your specific workloads before committing. Most SMBs find actual costs land 20 to 30% below their initial estimate once they go through the exercise with real workload data. Now, next up, hidden Azure costs that catch small businesses off guard. Even a well-planned migration has cost categories that produce surprises. Knowing these in advance prevents a lot of bill shock. Data egress fees, moving data out of Azure costs money. The rate is $0.087 per gigabyte for the first 10 terabytes per month. For applications where users download large files frequently, this adds up fast. The fix: use Azure CDN for file delivery, which serves cached content from edge locations and cuts origin egress significantly. Support tiers: basic support covers documentation only and is free. The developer tier at $29 per month adds email support with an 8-hour response time. Standard at $100 per month provides 1-hour response times for critical issues. If you're running production workloads, developer tier is the practical minimum. Now, conclusion. Microsoft Azure Cloud Services for startups and SMBs are consistently the most practical option for teams pursuing Azure digital transformation without enterprise-level IT staff or budget. The 5 quick wins in this post: cutting server costs with Azure VMs, eliminating SQL Server licensing overhead, automating workflows with Power Platform, migrating legacy applications without downtime, and deploying Azure AI for document and data processing, can reduce total IT spend by 50% to 75% compared to a fully on-premise setup. Most businesses complete all 5 within 90 days. Start with the Azure Migrate Assessment. It's free, takes 1 to 2 days, and gives you a specific cost estimate for your actual workloads. The numbers are usually better than expected. If you'd like a second set of eyes on those estimates or help sequencing the migration, our team offers a free Azure infrastructure assessment for SMBs. No pitch, just numbers.